Welcome to Radley Kitchen, everybody. My name is Irene Radley, and this is the first video in our home cooking series. I decided to do a video of kombucha or jun making because it's my most recent acquired skill to make our own kombucha. So just to show you, this is our most recent brew. In here, jun, which is kombucha, but instead of sugar, I used raw honey, and the fruits that I've infused in it are blueberries, pear, and ginger. Because ginger is anti-inflammatory, so I always include it in the brew. I also started incorporating Chinese herbs, or just herbs in general, to the brew. So this newest brew is with astragalus, so let's begin. We're gonna start with your Scoby. So normally you would get this Scoby from someone, you know, who's giving them away, and a little bit of the old brew of the kombucha, so about a cup would suffice. And then here are the Scobies that I've developed. Now, if you're in the San Diego area and want a Scoby, they are free for you to take. And because I develop one for every brew that I make, for every batch of kombucha that I make, a new Scoby forms, and these Scobies are really healthy. So these are the Scobies that I'm going to put inside my kombucha. First things first, you receive this from your donor or whoever friend gifted those to you, or you can also purchase some online, I believe. Because I make so many Scobies, I'm researching how to do that to sell them online so I can ship them. But until then, I'm giving them away for free to people in the San Diego area. Or if you're from Orange County and want to drive over, that's fine too, as long as you pick them up around here. Now, I like to brew my kombuchas in this jar, right here, with this spout, because I have felt that as I'm transferring them from the brew jar to my second fermentation container, it's just easy to drain them from the bottom since the Scobies float to the top. I'm also going to show you my newest second fermentation batch. So now, this is my second fermentation batch. I took the liquid out of the Scoby brew and put them in here with fruits. I would leave them here for about 24 to even sometimes 48 hours, depending on if I forget. But it doesn't matter. If you leave them for longer than that, they might get a little too alcoholic because the fruit might ferment a little too much. Okay. So now you have your Scoby, you have your 1 cup of old brew. What you're going to do is you're gonna first clean your container, not with soap, but with baking soda. And because I only use this for kombucha, I can do that. But if you use your container for other things, I would say clean with soap and then rinse with hot, like after you've rinsed the soap out, clean again with baking soda and hot water, just to kind of not make it be soapy, because for some reason that affects your brew. Okay, so you are going to place your kombucha, your old kombucha, back into the brewing jar, like so. There's sediment that has settled at the bottom of this sample, and I'm hoping to not transfer the sediment back into my new brew, just because, you know, as it brews, it's going to create its own sediment. So I'm going to just very gently place this back here. All right. And I also, as you can see, I have these bottles with a stopper as my kombucha serving bottles. These are great because you can keep them in the counter and they will fizz up even more without any of that oxygen filtering out. So we have this, and then we're gonna put the Scobies in there. I like to put the larger ones at the bottom because a new Scoby is gonna form up top and the smaller ones will bind to the larger Scobies. But it doesn't really matter in the long run. So you're gonna put the Scobies back in the old kombucha brew. Very gently, they are living beings. And so you wanna be gentle with your Scoby. Then, there, you're ready to put your tea in there. So we're back. So now the next step to this is you're gonna put your brewed tea on top. I like to, so I brewed 1 gallon of filtered water with half a cup of honey, and astragalus is in there too, with 10 bags of organic matcha green tea. As with anything, any brewer, any pizza maker, any pasta sauce maker will tell you the quality of your water is important for the flavor and quality of your kombucha. So I like to use filtered water myself. If you're a tap water drinker, then you can probably do that. But I don't know, I like to use quality ingredients. And I also, since this has been sitting in order to cool down, I like to kind of just go through it and make sure that there's no impurities that have settled on the surface of this tea, because you don't want mold to grow on the kombucha. So I'm just gonna spoon out the top layer. You can see there's some sediment that's floating. It might be from the astragalus, but we can't be too sure. Again, you want your tea that you put in there to be as pure as possible. Just because kombucha, the Scoby is a fungus, and fungus begets fungus. And if your jun or your brew grows fungus, then you have to start over again. You have to throw out that Scoby. Okay. A couple more in there. Okay. So there's that. Now I'm going to gently, I use a measuring cup, so I don't like to pour the tea all in there all at once because I want to do it gently. Again, think of the Scoby as a living thing, and it doesn't really like to get manhandled. So I'm going to pause this process because this will take some time to transfer over, and I'll be right back. Okay, so now this process is done. We've transferred all of the tea into this jar, and I've kind of moved the Scoby so that they can freely move in the liquid and they can float up. So again, this is 1 gallon of filtered water, 10 packs of green tea, and half a cup of honey. And you can use sugar and you can make kombucha, but this is a jun. So what you're going to do is you're going to take a tea towel and you are going to secure that tea towel tightly around the rim of the glass so that the brew can breathe, and yet it protects it from infiltration of things like mold and fruit flies. So the fruit flies are really attracted to the sugar that's created of the brew. So here we go. We're ready to store this for at least 7 days. Especially if it's warm, you can do 7 days. But when it's cold, like right now, it's January, even though it's been balmy here, but if it's cold, then the longer it is, the better. So I like to put mine between even 10 to even 14 days. Okay, so now, because we do drink a lot of kombucha, I like to brew things 2 jugs at a time. So this has been brewing here, I would say a week. And then so we're gonna do this guy right here next to it. So I like to put it in the cupboard because it's nice and dark, and then they don't really get disturbed up here because the kombucha likes to brew in peace. And I like to check and see, make sure there's no fungus that's growing. If there are any brown spots, those are totally normal part of the brew. The stringy stuff too is normally normal. So yeah, so this is gonna sleep here for at least 7 to 10 days. And we'll this back for part 2, which is the second fermentation. So this is day 10 or 12 or 14, depending on how long you want to brew your kombucha for. The colder the weather, the longer it takes to brew the kombucha. But for me, it's about 10 days. So for this, you want this second fermentation container, whatever flavoring you want to put. So for me, for this brew, I'm doing ginger. I always do ginger for every brew. Hi, Buster. That's the little child. So ginger for every brew. And then in terms of fruits, I like to go seasonal. So pears are in season. So I have cut up pears here and blackberries as well. You absolutely need clean hands in order to do this because you're gonna mush the fruits so that the kombucha or the jun can really get the flavor going. Okay, so I'm gonna put it in here and I'm gonna mush it as I'm putting it in here. So please don't wear white in this process, because especially if you're gonna mush colorful fruits into your kombucha mixture. So just so that they can release their flavors right away. So I like to mush the fruit with my hands. You can also do a fruit masher, but I don't know. I like to feel food in my hands when I'm cooking. So here we go. Some more. And I also wash my fruit in filtered water just so, you know, that extra level of elevation of all the ingredients. And then in here, mush that. You can even mush the pears if you'd like as well. But since, you know, there's no peel or protective layer outside, berries tend to have a very closed structure, especially blueberries. Strawberries, not that much. Strawberries are actually pretty porous. So, but blueberries, blackberries, you know, you kind of have to mush them to get all of to activate everything. So, right there. And just add the rest of the fruits in here. And then I will be back for the next and final step before the second fermentation starts. Okay, next step is that we take our kombucha that's been, or jun, that's been brewing for about 10 days for this one. Sometimes I leave it in there for about, 14 days, about 2 weeks, but this is 10 days. We have a healthy Scoby that's formed on top. There's no mold, so you have to check. And then I'm gonna take the fruit that we just mushed, and I'm gonna empty this kombucha into this fruit, the fluid. This is why I like these spout containers. If you guys can see, there's a spout right here, and it helps, it makes it easy to empty this out without a big mess. And plus, all of the sediment has settled at the bottom right below where the spout empties, and so it's actually perfect. All right, awesome. So now this is your second fermentation. Leave it covered on your counter, undisturbed, for at least, some people only like to do it for a few hours. I like to do it at least 24 hours. What I've been doing, and it's been working right now, is 48 hours, but it really all depends on you. And yeah. This is it. And then we'll get ready to transfer this onto bottles on day, if this is day 10, on day 12 for the day 12 episode. Okay, thanks. So we had just finished brewing our tea, mixing the honey, getting all of our materials in check. Now we have our Scoby that we are going to use to brew our new batch. And here is the kombucha tea. There's more than 1 cup here, but it's good. At least 1 cup. And you're gonna need one of your bottles to store your kombucha liquid in while you wash your Scoby. I always say wash your Scoby in room temperature water, not heat. Don't put heat or cold on your kombucha. It's a living thing, so we have to treat it as such. So you're gonna empty out the liquid onto a separate container just so you can use it afterwards. That's why I love these spout jars for this process. Only because it's easy to empty out the liquid and leave the sediment just right below where the spout is, so you only get the pure kombucha or the pure jun, depending on what you're brewing, in the bottles. So right now I'm gonna tilt it a little bit just so it empties. I'm just gonna make sure that I'm not taking any of the sediment layer with me. You know, after 10 days, the sediment should already be settled at the bottom. So, right there, I believe that's good. So that's a lot, which is great. So set that aside. We're gonna pour it into our new batch. And then I'm going to wash my Scoby now. Now, this is required You have to have clean hands in order for this to work. And I also like to put 2 plates so that I can cover my Scoby as I'm preparing this jar for you. So as you can see, I covered, while it was brewing, I covered it with a tea towel and rubber band tightly so that fruit flies can't get in there. So I'm going to take the Scoby out. See, this is the new Scoby that has formed. And these brown, you know, little spots there, totally normal. Completely normal. They even said that's the Scoby poop. So I like to wash it off anyway. So I have smaller Scobies in there. The Scoby forms according to the size of your container. So if your container is smaller than the Scoby you received, you can actually cut the edges of the Scoby. It's fine to be cut. So take this off. I like to put the less than formed Scobies on top so that it attaches to the new child Scoby. So you see all these? It ate a lot because there's a lot of poop in here. So what I like to do is to wash this jar with baking soda. So I'm going to do that first. I'm going to pause this so I can wash this with baking soda. And again, I'm going to wash the Scoby so that all of these brown spots are gone. All right, I'll be back for the final stage of our kombucha making. Here it is, you guys, the last day of our kombucha brewing, and there's going to be about 2 days of resting the kombucha on the counter after this, but everything else, you know, it's gonna go from that to being in your fridge and you being able to drink it. So the last time we saw each other is when we had this awesome brew right here. It's blackberry, pear, and ginger brew. As you can see, it's this nice red color right here. For this particular step, you are going to need I like to use a glass pitcher because then it has the spout that would easily transfer over to the narrow opening of the bottles. And also, let me see where it is, a little strainer for the fruit. So what I'm going to do is first, I'm going to strain out all of the fruits that is on top here. I'm going to just wash my hands real quick, make sure it's clean. It is clean, but you can never be too sure. All right. So, okay. So now we are going to strain this top layer of fruit off. You might also notice that maybe a kind of baby Scoby has formed at the top of this fruit. Some people like to use cheesecloth, and I actually bought some cheesecloth for this particular reason, but I found that doing this is the least terrible. So let me do that. Strain the juice from the fruit because there's some yummy goodness in there. And put it right there at the top. And again, strain more of the fruit out. And again, strain and drain. So I like to squeeze the fruit, squeezing the marrow out of life, as they say. You can repurpose that saying to say, squeeze the kombucha out of the fruit, and it will mean the same thing. Living life to the fullest. So, right there. And again, I'm gonna just rinse my hand, this fruit. So now I like to keep putting the strainer just in case there are stragglers. And put this juice in this pitcher very, very carefully so as not to spill any of the contents, because the contents are very precious. Are precious. All right, there you go. And now you're gonna put this strained. I like to fill my large bottle first. There. And then you're going to seal it, and you're just going to leave it on the countertop for a little while. And then another bottle. So now this bottle is going to stay on the countertop for about 2 days, so that, you know, the bubbles can still form. And then it's ready to put in the fridge and chill, because the fermentation process is delayed by cold. So that's why we want to keep this room temperature. All right, and that's it. I'm gonna do the same for the rest of this, and that's it. Happy kombucha journeys.